Well, good evening, everyone, or morning, or afternoon, or whatever time you're watching this workshop on blindness. My name's Paul.
Good evening, or others. Yeah. This is Bev. You can-
We have a wonderful workshop today. It says blindness, but just so you know, right here in the beginning, this is going to deal with any visual impairment, even as we have Dr. Kirk Adams, PhD, do our presentation. Also, we always want to remind you, too, we have a great testimonial in BioTouch Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips of a blind man who actually had moments of perfect vision. So, let's just start off with our presentation. This is pre-recorded, and then we'll come back and we're going to teach you the sets of points. Those of you who are interested in downloading the workbook, go to justtouch.com/workbook. And in the second half of this evening, we will teach you the sets of points on how to work with blindness. So let's just hear from Dr. Adams right now. Hey, everybody. We have a special guest today, Dr. Kirk Adams. He has a PhD and he is going to share with us about the situation of blindness. And Kurt, we're just going to let you take it away.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks. Great opportunity. Blindness is what we call a low incidence disability. So people viewing may not know a blind person personally or have interacted with anyone to a great extent. So lots of dynamics around blindness in our society goes very, very deep. If you are from the Judeo-Christian background, there's lots of references to blindness, very negatively, that go way back into our roots and way back into our mythemes. So I'm a blind person. My retinas detached when I was in kindergarten, so I went from being a sighted child to a blind child just within a couple of days. And I went to a school for blind children for first, second, and third grade in Oregon and learned how to read and write Braille and type on a typewriter and travel confidently with white cane so that I could start public school in fourth grade. And among the blind, I am an exception in that I'm totally blind. Blindness is an impairment of vision. So there's a legal definition that is used to receive government services called legal blindness, which is 2200 in the better eye with correction or a visual field of less than 20 degrees. And most people who are termed blind or legally blind have some usable vision. Total blindness is probably about 10% of us. And as far as demographics go, the farther along the age axis you get, the more blind people there are, because most people who are blind have become blind as part of the aging process. So there's something like 800,000 blind kids in K through 12, something around there. About a million of us who are college or working age. And then the vast majority, 20 million plus, are people who are older, 50 and older. When you get to 65 years, 16% of people over 65 have a visual impairment. 23% of people over 85 have a visual impairment. And these are people who live their lives as sighted people in a world that was designed for sighted people and have come accustomed to things like driving and reading print and being able to scan a computer screen quickly and see where they want to click, reading text messages on the fly, all those things that you do as a sighted person in a world that was constructed to make life easy for people who are sighted. So there's probably a grief cycle. Myself as a 5 or 6 year old, kids are so resilient. I think probably for the probably got to middle school, things were just pretty okay for me. And then there's social things that start happening in middle school, high school. I grew up in small towns where when kids turn 16, they got a driver's license and they got a job. And that wasn't happening for me. So there's quite a bit of social isolation then. I got better in college, and I married my college sweetheart. We have two grown, wonderful adult children and two grandchildren now, a 2-year-old and a 10-day-old. And I love being a grandpa. But the dynamics for people with a vision impairment, there are some commonalities. So first I want to talk about impairment versus disability. Just because I can't see does not mean I am always in a disabling condition. So I run two fairly large nonprofits, American Foundation for the Blind, Lighthouse for the Blind, as president and CEO. An example I use is that if I'm running a board meeting, you hand me my agenda and my financials in Braille. I'm a Braille reader. I can't operate just as efficiently as a sighted person can with print. So although I have a visual impairment, I'm not in a disabling condition. If you hand me a stack of print materials, my visual impairment has placed me in a disabling condition relative to the environment, because you've put me in a position where I am tasked with operating in an environment that's not acceptable to me. So another example I like to use is if I'm speaking to a large audience, I'll say, who in here is 5'2" or shorter? Right? Clap your hands. And there's always going to be some people. And I'll say, if I'm your housemate and I put your car keys on a shelf that's 8 feet off the floor, you're in a disabling condition because of your height. You can't reach it. So you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to get a tool, like a stool, step stool, to allow you to reach the keys, which are placed in a great position if you're 6'4", but not so great if you're 5'2". Or you're going to have to create a team. You're going to have to go find someone's taller and enlist their support. You may want to build a lower shelf and train your housemate not to put stuff on the high shelf. So that's very analogous to being a person with an impairment, whether it's a visual impairment, mobility impairment, hearing impairment. We need to make accommodations and adaptations in order to thrive in an environment that was built to the specifications of the majority. Our majority of people don't have impairments. That definitely changes at the end of life. Many of those will have some level of impairment as part of the aging process. So when we think about those disabling conditions, we also think about what tools do we need in order to thrive. That's my interest, is creating opportunities for blind people to thrive. And in particular, I'm interested in employment and the working age blind adult population. Only 35% of us are working. So about 70% of the general population working age work. So only about half that number of us who are blind work. And of course, there's economic ramifications of that. Many of us live in poverty. All the disparities are worse: the health disparities, the high school graduation rates, the college entrance rates, the college dropout rates, the level of employment, the level of income, level of upward mobility for those of us who do work. Over 50% of us work for government or nonprofit, where salaries are lovely, but they are limited compared to some other sectors of the economy. We're in a much narrower range of occupation and lower salary levels, lower income levels. So there's a constant need. So there's a flip side here. So there's a constant need to adapt, to be creative, to figure things out. It costs more to be a person with an impairment, you have to buy specialized equipment and software, you need specialized training. Transportation is often a challenge, as we typically are required to use public transportation, which is not as independent as some other forms of personal transportation can be. There are microaggressions, which are fairly constant. So if I'm with my beautiful wife who is sighted at a restaurant, many times the server has asked her what I would like to eat. And as you mentioned, I have a PhD. I climbed Mount Rainier. I ran cross country and medaled in cross country skiing, and I run a couple big nonprofits, and I started my own business. So I'm a capable person, but there is an assumption, and I don't blame people because they haven't been educated or exposed. But there's just a deeply ingrained assumption that a person has a physical impairment or maybe a mental or capability impairment. So we're often infantilized. I travel a lot. The airport is probably the worst place ever for microaggressions. I laughed out loud at a woman I know, Chancey Fleet, who works at the Talking Book and Braille Library in New York City, wrote a Facebook post about experiencing a microaggression at her job. And she wrote, if I want microaggressions, I'll go to the airport. So I chuckled because, again, people aren't trained. Not their fault, but if I go to the ticket counter and say I need a meet and assist person to help me get to the gate, oftentimes I'm met with someone who's not a native English speaker. They typically speak English a lot better than I speak their born language. But again, they haven't had training. They almost always insist on a wheelchair. I always have a little, not always, but frequently a little argument. Like, I don't need a wheelchair. I can walk just fine. I just need to touch your elbow. And I give them a little kind of on-the-spot sighted guide training. And then the TSA person, 80% of the time, will talk to whoever I'm with. Does he have his ID? Does he have his boarding pass? So just there's kind of a constant barrage of that kind of stuff, which is very tiring. We learn to choose our battles. We do have to learn how to advocate for ourselves. It's a skill I did not have until I was probably in my 30s. Little story when I was in high school, Snohomish, Washington, Snohomish High. There were probably about 30 of us who were kind of the college-bound group. In my senior year, I walked in physics in the first period, then traveled to math analysis for second period, and then chemistry. And I walked in with my white cane, and the chemistry teacher said, no, you cannot take chemistry. That is a safety issue. You need to go to the office and get a different class. And I did it. My parents were teachers. I went home and told them, and they said, well, that's what Mr. So-and-so says, then that's that. So I sat in a study hall and read trashy novels third period my senior year. And now I've met blind people who have PhDs in chemistry. A gentleman friend of mine, Hobie Wedler, is a renowned wine expert. He has a PhD in chemistry. I've met blind people who teach chemistry at universities. So I know that those limits were placed on me because of people's perceptions, and they weren't true. I did not have the advocacy skills that I now have. I was not connected with other blind individuals or organized blindness groups. And that is one thing I'll recommend no matter where you're at in your blindness journey. If you're a parent with a blind kid, if you're a person who's experiencing degenerative vision loss as part of the aging process, if you are like me and been blind a long time, to join. And it's so easy to join now with the internet. There are several national groups, the National Federation of the Blind, American Council of the Blind. They have state and local chapters. There are organizations of blind students. There are organizations of parents of blind children. There are organizations of blind parents of sighted children. So you can find a community. You can find people who are experiencing similarly to you, who have walked the path before you and have figured some things out. And they'll be very excited and willing to share what they've learned. So I think finding community is very, very important for anyone facing challenges in life, whatever they may be. You don't have to do that alone. I would also say that to read about blindness, blind people, there are many biographies, autobiographies, articles with the search engines that are available today, the assistive technology. If you have an iPhone or an Android phone in your pocket, you have a built-in screen reading system that comes preloaded. For iPhone, it's called VoiceOver. You turn it on, it reads to you what's on the screen. It allows you to use swipes and taps to navigate your phone. You got a computer in your pocket that's more powerful than any PC was 10 years ago. Android phone has something similar. If you like to use a PC like I do, I have screen reading software called JAWS, Job Access with Speech. There's screen reading software that's free called NVDA, non-visual display access. And they're not terribly difficult to learn, and they can open up the whole world for you. Unfortunately, like the physical world, the digital world is not completely accessible. We are needing the folks who design websites and apps to have the same care as folks who design new buildings now. No one would ever think about building a public building without a wheelchair ramp and accessible bathrooms, and we need to get there in the digital environment as well, because some of the many of the digital assets, websites, and apps are not fully accessible because they haven't been designed to work seamlessly with the screen reading software. But I will tell you, if you're going to be blind, this is a pretty great time to be blind. As far as technology, access to information, the ability to connect with people, the tools that are available. And there are lots of resources. I would say for those who are newer to blindness, there's a website called Vision Aware. It was actually created by my former organization, the American Foundation for the Blind. It's now being managed by the American Printing House for the Blind. And it is specifically designed for people who are newer to blindness, and their families, their caregivers, the people who love them. No reason to stay in that grief cycle. Totally natural and normal to have it, but there are lots of resources out there now, and lots of support. Another, if family has a blind child, Family Connect is another website AFB Star that American Printing House runs, and that's for families with blind kids. And then there's one called Career Connect, which is the third of the trio. And that's for people who are working age and seeking employment and careers. So those are great places to start. If you are legally blind, you're entitled to access the National Library Service for the blind and print disabled, which is part of Library of Congress. You can get free talking book machine and talking book cartridges. They have a download service, so you can just download Audible books, talking books onto your phone or your other device. In 1949, Robert Irwin, who was blind, who was president of AFB, was interviewed by the New York Times because they had started the talking book program with Helen Keller, recording books on phonograph records for people who are blind. And it was something like the 15th anniversary of the talking book program. So they interviewed him, and he said, the talking book will have very limited use because there's no reason that a sighted person would want to listen to a book. So some of our technologies developed specifically for people with impairments have made the world better for everybody. So the talking book, curb cuts. People in wheelchairs hauled themselves up the steps of the Capitol to get the ADA passed and have curb cuts in the sidewalks so people in wheelchairs could cross the street. Now something like 1% of the usage is people in wheelchairs. It's parents with strollers and people with grocery carts and skateboarders and rollerbladers and
Perfect.
people like that. Another example is closed captioning. Recent study came out that shows half of the sighted hearing people have closed captioning on when they watch television because it enhances the experience. So impairment leads to innovation. It also, the flip side of all these microaggressions, these obstacles, these need to be creative, is it allows us to develop some really unique strengths. If you read a book like The Talent Code that talks about how do people develop strengths, it's by overcoming challenges. And to live every day with an impairment and be in these disabling conditions because of the way the environment's constructed, it allows us to develop a lot of strength and resilience and grit and perseverance and creative problem solving and how to analyze and manage risks and how to put together and work with teams and how to communicate effectively. So back around to my passion, employment. Those are all of the characteristics employers are saying they need in the 21st century, and they can't find enough good people to hire. And there's a lot of us out here with those strengths who will be so joy-filled to be given an opportunity to participate in the economy and to contribute our skills to a good organization. So,
wow.
I think I just talked a lot.
Oh, that was
And
perfect. That was perfect.
Yeah,
Dr. Kirk.
I think I covered what I wanted to cover. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share.
And we appreciate this will be great to show folks. And it there you go. That was perfect. You got to turn yourself on there. There you
The
are.
one, hang on.
All right.
Wait,
So,
okay. The one thing that I got out of that is, wow, hope,
right. Yeah.
hope.
I mean, what I really like too is impairment leads to innovation.
I love that.
Th-
That's true, isn't
There's
it?
BioTouch, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you. He said to join groups too. Well, there's no better group to join than BioTouch to
Yeah.
help with what he talked about, the impairment. So, we have worked with everything from glaucoma to cataracts to just visual impairments to, as we said, total blindness. So it's a very simple few sets of points, and it's definitely innovative. So,
It is, and he was talking about those who care for, and that's really what BioTouch also does. It gives us, those that are caregivers, and then the ones that we're caring for makes them feel cared for. So it's a win-win, isn't it, for everyone?
yeah,
Yeah, I
and I
like that.
and I
Innovation
and I
through
think
strength.
what's important too is because I can't see doesn't mean I'm disabled. When he talked about microaggressions, I really, I
Oh,
realized, how I do that all the time with disabled people. I talk to their caregiver instead of
I
directly
know.
to the
It's
disabled.
like, hello,
Yeah.
I'm
So,
here.
so what's nice about BioTouch in relation to that is you can touch that person who's blind or has an impairment, and you're connecting with that person directly. It's not
Yes,
through somebody. So,
right,
so
right.
for those who have not ever participated in a workshop with us, you can go to justtouch.com/workbook. And Bev is going to teach us a few sets of points. Also, for those who've never done BioTouch, he's just going to go over a few bullet points about what BioTouch is. So take it away, Bev.
Okay, so if you have the workbook, we do have our front page is just a compilation, an overview of the condition. Just kind of gives you some general information and some information at the bottom about the foundation, International Foundation of Biomagnetics. So we always like to start with these 4 bullets because many of you join us on a regular basis, but we're always having new people join. We just like to give an overview of what is BioTouch. So let's begin with that. As it says, it is a simple hands-on healing technique. So we use the first 2 fingers of our hands and we touch lightly on the skin. It's a whole technique made up of 17 different sets of points that address literally anything the body can manifest. So it's very light touch. We say like a butterfly, lightly on the skin. The definition of BioTouch is one person touching another person lightly on the skin. So of course, we're always going to have the question, can you do it on yourself? And our answer is always, well, if you can reach those points, why not? Is it as effective as 2 people working together? No, we do not call that BioTouch. Again, one person touching another. So this infers a relationship. So with that in mind, let's just go over these 4 bullets. First one is it's easy to learn. And yes, children have learned it, have gotten certified in our trainings. So I always think BioTouch allows us to, when we're in that relationship, just being present with another person and that sense of just being safe and trusting. We are as children. It's just so simple and so unassuming. BioTouch is a complement to any healthcare program. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what you are. If you're under a doctor's care, if you're doing a specific diet, if you're taking prescriptions, if you're doing other modalities, whatever it is that you are doing in your healing journey, BioTouch will contribute to it, will enhance it, and will completely integrate with it. So we kind of look at BioTouch as an integrative, a complementary, and a holistic system. So it's, like I said, it would just, whatever you're doing, it's just going to aid and enhance that process. There are no levels of ability. We all have it within us. BioTouch is innate in us, and that means we can all reach out and touch another person. We all have the innate ability to care for each other, to want to help someone in their pain. And so we all have the ability to practice and to be effective. So the very first time when you learn a few just simple sets of points in the technique, you can actually practice with another person and be totally effective for that person. And they can turn around and do the same for you. So it's a very unique technique, and it's meant for every single one of us. You don't need to even know anatomy. You know, this is a system that helps the body to help itself. It's very innate in all of us to do that. And the last button, it requires no special preparation. We do not have a philosophy. We do not have a belief system. Whatever your personal belief systems or philosophies are, everything is honored. You do not have to prepare yourself to help another person. You do not have to, you can do anything you want. It's not going to do anything, but there is nothing that is immediately necessary. You just take those 2 fingers and touch lightly on the skin. So those are kind of a basic overview of BioTouch. So we're going to start there's a few steps that we always recommend. The first one is we always wash our hands before you do a session with someone. Just wash your hands. Again, it's one person touching another person. We always begin every session with what is called the greeting, and that's the first set that we will teach tonight. And we always want to hold those points 6 to 8 seconds, and you will see on the videos what we mean by points on the body. You can practice it anywhere, anytime, with anyone. It is just that accessible to all of us. So we are going to begin on this page 7, we put this in the manual. We're not going to go over these terms except for the first 2. And I was talking about a relationship that BioTouch allows us to enter into. And the 2 people involved, the first one is called the associate. And as it says, this is the person who performs the procedures, that touches someone. So we use it as a matter of convenience, but as the dictionary describes an associate, it is one who is inspired to pursue, and often in the company with another, implying an intimacy and equality. That's BioTouch, the relationship of healing, an equality, and one having an interest in common with another. The second person in that relationship is called the recipient. This is the person that is receiving the touch. And in that equality, we know that it's a true relationship because both of these people give and receive equally. It's a beautiful, beautiful technique. So we are ready to begin. Paul, I guess we're going to, did you want to?
Yeah, let me talk about this first. Each set has 2 pages. The first page you see here is a drawing with the point numbers. And the second page is the words of how to find those points. And if you'll notice on each of those pages, there's a little purple that says click here to watch video. And that will take you to the video onto our website and show somebody doing those points as they're explaining where those points are, same as it's written here. So it's very easy. You don't have to memorize everything tonight. Download again that workbook, justtouch.com/workbook, and you can get the workbook on blindness.
Thank you. So we're going to begin, as I mentioned before, sharing the greeting. This is the one set that you're always going to begin before you do anything else, any of the other sets of points with someone. You always want to start with a greeting because it literally opens the body and it creates a harmony in that relationship between the associate and the recipient. The one thing that's unique about the greeting is you're going to use both hands for everything except for the greeting. You want to use one hand and you want to use the dominant hand. There's only 2 points, as you can see in the diagram, and you want to use both hands. So we're going to watch the video and you can see someone doing the greeting with another person. So let's go ahead and watch that.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be reestablished. Then the session may proceed from where it was interrupted.
Okay, so now we've done the greeting. We're ready to do these other sets of points. And just to let you know, when we put together these workbooks, we select specific sets of points that we feel are beginning. You can begin with these sets of points, and there's other sets of points that you may decide to use as well. So this is just a suggestion from us on the basic ones to begin with. So of course, we've done the greeting. Now we're ready to do the eyes, the eye set. This is, it addresses all of those eye conditions, that cataracts, glaucoma, poor eyesight, impairments of any kind relating to the eyes. So, and who knows? I mean, as Paul said in our book, we did have this man that started to see. So all things are possible with BioTouch. So the eye set is that's a great place to start. It's very simple. So let's go ahead and watch the video of the eyes.
The eye set is performed on the same side of the head. It may be used to address any type of eye conditions. Hold point X is located on both sides of the head and may be found in either of the following ways. Place the first two fingers of one hand in the indentation beside the neck muscle at the base of the skull, then slide the fingers up the back of the skull, over a rise in the bone, to a very definite valley or dent, which is hold point X. Another way to find X is to estimate a point about 1/3 of the way down from the top of the ear and 1 to 1.5 inches behind the back edge of the ear. Again, there is a definite valley or dent in the skull, and this is hold point X. It is also the same as point 4 of the head set. To perform this set, hold X and touch points 1 through 4, which are on the same side of the head as X. These points are in a line beginning at point 1, which is just in front of where the ear meets the face. Point 2 is halfway between point 1 and the outside corner of the eye. Point 3 is at the outside corner of the eye. To touch point 4, ask the recipient to close their eye and touch on the recipient's closed eyelid. This is a sensitive area, so work gently. Repeat the procedure on the other side of the head. Hold point X, and with the other hand touch point 1, which is just in front of where the ear meets the face. Point 2 is halfway between point 1 and the outside corner of the eye, and point 3 is at the outside corner of the eye. End with point 4 on the recipient's closed eyelid.
Okay, the next set that we have in the workbook is called the metabolism set. And this is an important set to use because it helps the body to assimilate what it wants, eliminate what it doesn't, and really help the body to begin its own natural healing ability. So this is a really good one to use overall in blindness or anything having to do with sight infections and things like that in the eyes. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
The metabolism set can be used to help the body assimilate what it needs and eliminate what it doesn't need. The metabolism set has 2 steps. Step 1 involves touching points in matching fire along the large muscles on the front of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are located above the collarbone in the soft indentations on both sides of the notch at the top of the breastbone. Points 2 and 2 are halfway up the neck on the front of the large muscles. Points 3 and 3 are at the top of the neck on the front of the large muscles. The second step involves holding a point on the front of the body and touching points next to the spine on the back. Hold point X on the front of the body is on a line directly between where the nipples would be on a youth and is 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. Another way to find X is 1/3 of the way up the breastbone from greeting point 1 and 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. The points on the back are located next to the spine, forming a rectangle around the breakover point. The breakover point is where the bottom of the rib cage joins the spine and can be found by imagining a line directly through the body from greeting point 1. To perform step 2, find hold point X on the front of the body and touch points 1 through 4 on the back. Point 1 is approximately 1 to 2 inches up from the breakover point on the left spine muscle. Point 2 is directly across from point 1 on the right spine muscle. Point 3 is 2 to 3 inches below the breakover point on the right spine muscle. Point 4 is used to address blood sugar problems and is added to the other metabolism points when needed. It is located across from point 3 on the left spine muscle.
Okay, metabolism, that's a good one. The last set we're going to present is the head set. And this is good because it relates to anything, conditions of the brain that has anything to do with any imbalances in the brain. And also, it's very interesting. If you look at the diagram here, you can see that point 4. That is a point that you touch, but in the eye set, it is the hold point. So who knows what that will do, those two sets together. So let's go ahead and watch the video of the headset.
The headset can be used to address conditions related to the brain. There are 4 steps in this set. In step 1, use through fire to touch points A and A. Point A on the back of the head is in the center of the neck at the base of the skull. Point A on the front of the head is at the center of the forehead where the forehead begins to curve to the crown. Step 2 is performed in crossfire with the fingers of each hand touching on opposite sides of the head. Hold at X, which is in the indentation beside the neck muscle at the base of the skull. It is the same as point 1 of the back set. On the opposite side of the head, touch points 1 through 5. Points 1, 2, and 3 are on the ridge line formed where the skull curves up toward the crown. Point 1 is above the outside corner of the eye on the ridge. Point 2 is above the front of the ear on the ridge. Point 3 is above the back of the ear on the ridge. To locate point 4, move down the head toward the base of the skull to a horizontal indentation approximately 1/3 of the way down from the top of the ear and 1 to 1.5 inches behind the back edge of the ear. Point 5 is opposite hold point X at the base of the skull. Point 5 now becomes the new hold point as points 1 through 5 are touched on the opposite side of the head. In crossfire, touch point 1 above the outside corner of the eye on the ridge. Point 2 above the front of the ear on the ridge. Point 3 is above the back of the ear on the ridge. Point 4 is a horizontal indentation approximately 1/3 of the way down from the top of the ear and 1 to 1.5 inches behind the back edge of the ear. And point 5 is opposite hold point X at the base of the skull. Step 3 is performed in matching 1 and 1. Two and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. Finally, in step 4, place the open palms of both hands on the points 1 through 3. Be careful. Don't let your hands touch each other.
There you have it.
You can start
simple.
right now.
You can start right now. You know, I wanted to just take a moment to share it, you know, in the book, BioTouch Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips. If you have the book, if you don't, you really should get it. It's a wonderful story. Deborah Schildhouse and myself, my story of how I found BioTouch. But we actually have the whole testimonial by Curtis, where he said, to begin with, I'm a blind man. In our family, we have blindness that's hereditary. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. And so when we met Curtis, he was completely blind. He had someone come in with him, and we would start working with him. And he, as he shares in his testimonial, one day he was starting to see a little light. And then one day he went into the bathroom to shave and turned on the light, which he did all the time, even though he couldn't see. But one day he turned on the light after getting BioTouch for months, and he said, I saw the ugliest thing in the mirror. And he was looking at himself. Cute.
I love
the guy was really a funny guy.
Oh, man.
And then a couple of times as he was driving, as they were driving him to Mancos from Durango, he would, out of the corner of his eye, could see this light, and he'd turn his head and he could see moments of perfect mountains visions. And
wow.
And then at the end of his testimonial, he goes, what I'm writing this for is the miracle of BioTouch. And he relates it to the hands of healing. And he says, is it possibly going to heal millions of people, that people can minister one to another with the same candor and unselfishness? It could be. It very easily could be.
Oh, that's a show.
Yes.
We need to do a show.
It could be.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
And we share these so that you can be part of those millions and millions of people on the planet who just, as Bev shared, take those two fingers and reach out and touch another one. So if you have any questions about how to work with blindness, please contact us, office@justtouch.com, and we can help you personally in feeling confident in practicing BioTouch. As Bev said, anybody can do it, and you're going to be effective immediately.
Absolutely.
Go to our website, justtouch.com, for more information, for downloading the manual, all kinds of things, all kinds of information and testimonials.
Yep.
We appreciate you joining us for our workshop on blindness, and we look forward to our next workshop.
We do. Thank you.